All right, and we are back. I am the Hoff. We are the Loyal Sons, along with my co-host, Brett. Hello, Brett.
Hello. Hello. Chip, chip, cheerio. Just recovering from the weekend and...
Yeah? What'd you do this weekend?
Made the mistake of going up to Wisconsin and thought I could drink with the Young Elks up there. Like, the Young Elks, man, they're like professional drinkers. It's a different breed up there.
Yeah, but some Huskers
got to see
too. They can put that. Yeah. They can put that alcohol down, man.
Got to see the Packers beat the Bears. That was a very fun rivalry to watch. And
is there a lot of Bears fans there?
Yes, there were, because we were stuck in traffic forever because everyone was driving south from Green Bay to Chicago.
I don't even know.
Well worth it. Well worth it.
Yeah. Well, hell yeah, man. I've never got a chance to experience Lambeau, but would love to. Yeah, I was kind of curious about the Bears fan base this year because even down here in Texas, we're seeing a lot more Bears apparel that I'm not going to necessarily say it was just recently purchased, but it might have been in the closet collecting dust, and there's some people that are proud to break it out.
There probably wasn't a lot of fade on those jerseys. Probably weren't washed too much because they were still in their packaging.
Well, man, I'm glad you had a great time up there. Heard that you'd spread the word a little bit about the podcast. I noticed we had a slight spike in listeners around late Saturday evening and Sunday morning, which was kind of an odd time because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, a lot of football fans were, by that time, were either in bed or they were tanked up and really not. I will be honest, after I've put down some brews, I don't say to myself, man, I can't wait to go home and listen to a podcast.
It was the latter, and the Young Elks were still going strong by the time they were smashing the like button.
Nice. Love it. They were taking your advice. Well, before we get rolling and the bullshit gets deep here, so again, I'm the Hoff. It's my co-host, Brett. You are tuned in to the Loyal Sons podcast. We are the Loyal Sons of the great state of Iowa, the mighty Midwest, the Iowa State Cyclones, along with the Nebraska Cornhuskers and Iowa Hawkeyes. And, of course, very loyal sons to the greatest conference in all of college sports, which is the Big 12 Conference. And for those of you that are new to the show or are wanting to tell somebody to listen to the show, you're obviously well aware where you can find it since you're listening already, but we are available on Spotify. We are available on Apple Podcasts. We are available on YouTube. All you got to do is search all four words, The Loyal Sons Podcast. Make sure you include that in there and you can find us. As well as our socials. We are on X. We are on TikTok. We are on Facebook, and we are on Instagram. Again, search all four the words, The Loyal Sons Podcast, and you should be able to find us. I made it easy on everybody in the last episode and just said, all you got to do is look for that beautiful logo of, well, our beautiful logo, I should say, the outline of the glorious state of Iowa above some sort of field. I don't know. We didn't want to be biased to soybeans or corn, but with a lovely tornado right in the middle and a sexy as hell barn off to the right-hand side. You can see the Loyal Sons title right there. You see that? You're home. All right, Brett. We were talking earlier, and there is way too much chaos that took place over the last week that we can't cover in an hour. We're not even going to try. Some of it, every other talking head out there.
Just bananas, man.
It is indeed. And I'll give a shout out to him. Had a chance to meet up with Derek Duke from the Bigger Than 12 podcast with Iowa Everywhere on Saturday night after he was done covering the Big 12 championship. Jake Brend and Chris Williams, all those guys they were going around the clock up in Ames with everything that's going on. We won't dive into all that right away. We're going to start off with some positive stuff, right? We're not going to go into doom and gloom. I think that enough Iowa State fans have done that. Some news just broke right before we started recording tonight. Great hire for Iowa State. Offensive coordinator. The story is all over the place as far as what happened with Mauser. Obviously, he didn't get the full-time position. But we hired Tyler Rail. This guy has ties to Iowa State, experience with Iowa State, and Rail's coming to us from the Detroit Lions, where I believe he was a tight ends coach up there. And one thing I will say, Brett, is if you take a group photo of all those guys and then a photo of Jimmy Rogers and Tyler Rail and a few other guys that they could potentially be bringing over, there's a definite difference in badassery when you look at these guys.
Do you think the AD is kind of going for, you know what, I'm just going to hire a bunch of dudes that'll kick your ass in the bar, and that's going to be our coaching staff? Like,
I mean,
we might not win a national championship, but we will kick your ass in a bar fight.
The names I've seen that have, been spread around as far as people that are getting hired or potentially getting hired, you see photos of these guys, and there's a big difference in the fact that a majority of our coaching staff, if they don't look like they can still play football, they look like they did, or they look like they just stopped playing like 2 years ago. It's just a definite difference. Now, looks mean jack shit when it comes to coaching, obviously, when you think about Mark Mangino and Charlie Weiss. But at the same time, you can tell that there is a change in the air, maybe. Let's get moving on. We're going to kick it off with some basketball. How's that sound?
Wow. Just wow.
Yeah.
With the Purdue game, I would not have thought that, like, they just kicked their ass.
I have a lot of faith in this team already, which scares the shit out of me, because the last thing you want to do with an Iowa State basketball team, and we love them. We love our basketball. Otts is just an amazing coach, and the teams he's had have all been amazing. And it's this time of year that there just seems to be a trend of, holy shit, we're better than we thought we were going to be. And some of those years it's kind of carried all the way through to, March. Some of the years it's tapered off as you go into the tournament. So it's like I'm pulling the reins back. But there's probably a decent amount of our fan base that was sitting here thinking it's not going to hurt to lose one game. And if you're going to pick a game to lose, well, why wouldn't you do it in West Lafayette, right?
Yeah.
To the number one team in the nation. And God, they didn't just upset them. They owned them, dude.
See, I'm all in. I'm like, get drunk in Hawaii on St. Patty's Day, fly back, 0 sleep, drive up to Tulsa and see them get beat by Alabama. Like,
now we're not talking that way. We'll worry about being negative in March when March rolls around.
No, I'm like all in where I'm just like utterly disappointed.
This team is just having Lipsy back. This is a guy that when he started with Iowa State couldn't hit the broadside of a barn from 3. And now he's one of the most lethal players in the entire nation. And he comes back, and the team was still good with him being out. But when he comes back, it makes just such a huge difference. Jefferson, Momchilovich, Correa, the list goes on and on. Even a guy that I was highly critical of, my dumbass, who knows me criticizing a basketball player, is I don't even know the comparison. It's literally like a football player critiquing a hockey player. So I don't know shit, but I was pretty critical of Heisey last year. It just seemed like there was decision making and constantly just making stupid plays, blah, blah, blah. But again, I always check myself. It's a college kid for one, so I'm not going to be that guy. But that guy is playing well. The entire team, just all around.
That's why I'm all in, man. All in.
Okay. Well, let's dive in here. So we'll kick it off with the men's for all 3 teams, since we already talked about Iowa State. I'm sitting at 9-0, as we just talked about, beat the crap out of a Purdue team at Purdue, and it boosted them in the rankings significantly. They went from number 10 to number 4 in the nation. So Iowa State is now a team that was going to be talked about, which comes with pressure, but let's not jump ahead. And on the horizon, it doesn't get any easier for them. A very tough Ben McCollum coached Iowa Hawkeye team comes to Ames in 2 evenings. And this is a scrappy team. They've only lost 1 game. They lost to Michigan State, who's also a tough team. But again, even if it's not from a talent standpoint, this McCollum guy, man, he knows how to coach. He knows how to coach toughness. And they're going to come in ready. So the CyHawk week in basketball for both men's and women's is taking place now, Brett. I am a little worried about it being possibly a letdown game. And you don't want a letdown game against Iowa.
Iowa State undefeated.
All right. Just a freaking waterfall of positivity, this guy.
I am.
All right. Well,
I am.
They've got the Hawkeyes coming up in a couple days, and then Eastern Illinois on the 14th. And then, it goes down to some lower level teams until we get into conference play there as we get into the new year. Now, with Iowa being part of the discussion here, let's take a look at the Iowa men, who out of all 6 teams we're going to talk about, the three men's and 3 women's teams, I don't mean this as throwing shade since CyHawk week, but Iowa just is not rated yet. All the other teams are. I think it's early in the season. This is the time of year where if you're not a team that was ranked preseason already and you get one loss, and it can kind of hang around for a bit. But, they went to Maryland on Saturday and they made a statement. They beat Maryland 83-64. I don't know the status on Maryland right now and if that's truly a power team to beat, but, Maryland's never a terrible team. And then now they come to Ames on what day are we at? Is this Tuesday? Yeah, this is Tuesday. So Thursday for the CyHawk game. And then Western Michigan comes to Carver. And yeah, I'm not going to say this is Iowa's Super Bowl in basketball. I hate when people say that, especially when Iowa fans say it to Iowa State fans or vice versa. It just seems so freaking arrogant. But really, this is a young squad, new coach. This is a statement game for them. Iowa State is the team with everything to lose, but we'll just have to see what happens on Thursday.
Iowa State's going to blow them out.
Okay, blow them out. All right, we'll just leave it with that. Now, the Huskers. Fred Hoiberg, the mayor of Ames, Iowa. I don't know if that still counts. It could be George Niang or Tyrese Halliburton, but he's always going to be the mayor.
Oh, absolutely.
With a son on the team, by the way, on Nebraska's team, who did fairly well the other night. They are ranked number 23, sitting at 9. Now, another interesting fact, Nebraska, or as some of my friends in Omaha that are Nebraska alumni or fans, Nebrasketball holds the nation's longest win streak right now at 13 games.
Really?
Well, if you think about
it. And I'm more shocked that there's actually Nebraska Cornhusker basketball fans than the 13-game win streak. I've never met one, ever.
I know multiple.
Really?
Some of them are actually very loyal. Some of them are kind of fair weather where they just kind of vanish for a while and then they get good again.
Do they have a pot of gold somewhere?
I don't know where you're going with that.
I just think like leprechauns and mystical creatures.
I was completely lost.
Like I've seen a ton of Creighton fans. I've seen a ton of UNO fans. I've never seen a Nebraska basketball fan.
I have. A couple of them are really good friends of mine. But their fans do exist.
Next time we're up there, can you introduce me to them and I'll get their autograph? Because that's just wild to me.
You've met one of them, my friend Sarah. Yeah. When we were all, you met her. You met her. Her husband's a Creighton fan. Sarah's a Nebraska fan. Anyways, moving on. So they do have the nation's longest win streak. The funny thing about this is they have 9 games on their current record for the year. So if you do the math, that means that they couldn't have lost in the tournament last year.
Or the Big Ten.
Meaning that any team that essentially made the NCAA tournament, or any significant NIT, I don't even have it in front of me right now to see if they went and played in a postseason tournament last year. It's kind of, so there's like a little bit of an asterisk next to it. However, I'm not going to take this away from them. 13 games, they're holding on to it right now. They did just have a fairly dominant win over their in-state rival, the Creighton Blue Jays, 71-50. That's huge.
Everyone in Nebraska cheers for Creighton basketball.
Yep. Well, I just told you about my friend and her husband, and they both root for different teams in that situation. So I know Creighton fans do not like losing to Nebraska, but it happened. And Nebraska now has a Big Ten game on the horizon, which is tomorrow night. They actually have Wisconsin coming to Lincoln, and then another conference game right after that. And on the 13th, they have to go to Champaign and play the number 13 Illini. So
if you are a Nebraska basketball fan, do not drink with Wisconsin fans. They're professionals.
It is true. Yeah, we discussed this. It is definitely a job, but it's kind of like when people come to Iowa and in a small town and they see how many Busch Lights or whatever light beer it is that people are sitting in the bars like my hometown in Logan, but they're putting them down, and you bring somebody from the city or wherever outside of the Midwest even, and they're like, what the hell is wrong with you people? How do you drink so much so fast? And then y'all just get up and go to work the next day like it's nothing.
Yeah, it's a different beast.
All right. We've gone off the rails. So coming back around, Nebraska has a couple Big Ten games on the horizon, and this is after they're coming off a good win over their in-state rival. Now, let's hop over to women, since we're already talking about Nebraska. The Lady Huskers, number 24 in the nation, also sitting at 9-0. They had a pretty solid win over Penn State in Happy Valley, 101-83. And now they play, as you mentioned, Omaha. They play Omaha in Lincoln tonight. So that game's going on right now. And then on the 14th, they take on Illinois State. Let's go to Iowa. The number 11 Iowa Hawkeyes had a win on Saturday versus Rutgers, 9-0. They dominated Rutgers pretty good. Tomorrow night is the big night for the ladies. So the number 11 Hawkeyes are coming to Hilton and taking on the number 10 Iowa State women's basketball team. So another very heated matchup. This one's going to be an interesting one. In this case, it's more of a statement game for the Iowa State women's team because Iowa women's team has been so good for a while now that, Iowa State has kind of played second fiddle to them as far as women's basketball in the state. They're going to be ready to go. Audie's going to be ready to rock.
I think Audie's going to dominate them. Start off, with the women beating them. You got the 10 versus 11 matchup. Should be a good game, but Iowa State's going to pull it out. That's going to keep the momentum for the next day when the men's team dominates the Hawkeyes.
All right, man. Audie's just going to be throwing bows underneath the hoop, just freaking throwing them off.
God, yeah.
So then Iowa, after the Iowa State game, it gets a little easier for them. On the 13th of December, play Lindenwood. And Lindenwood is a team that just, for some reason, I don't know if it's just an algorithm or what, they've been popping up on all my social media timelines. I remember Lindenwood when I lived in St. Louis. They've all of a sudden just kind of become up. I don't know. I wouldn't call them up and coming. Just everybody's playing them. We just talked about Iowa State. Audie and the ladies beat Northern Illinois 105-52 on Sunday. So doubled them up. Now they got Iowa tomorrow night. And then it doesn't get any easier because there's a pesky UNI women's team that has a knack for being a real thorn in the side for other teams in the state of Iowa. Well, just in women's basketball in general. And they've got UNI coming to town on the 14th. So it'll be an interesting stretch from both teams. So we'll just wish them luck. Go out there and kick some ass tomorrow night. And as Brett said, give us some momentum going into the next night's game as well. All right, Brett. We're going to move on from basketball. And there was something that we did last week, and we are being held accountable not only by ourselves, but had some people on TikTok even message me stating that they were really interested to hear what we say about our picks. Okay. And then also a previous guest of the show, Mike, reached out and he can't wait to hear us talk about what really happened versus our picks.
Yeah. So just looking at it and I just, if we picked right, we picked right. We were pushed on the games we agreed. Mm-hmm. We both had James Madison and we both had Texas Tech. We're both way off on the North Texas game in Indiana.
Well, I wouldn't say we were
beating
way
Ohio
off.
State.
We were way off after halftime.
I was really confident in North Texas.
I was
So then basically what it came down to, we kind of split. I had Kennesaw State.
You're such a diehard Kennesaw fan.
I am. I always have been since 2025.
Always yapping about
you got me with Georgia. I went with my heart, but I ended up getting you for Boise State. Wait, we also tied on Western Michigan because I picked that one totally based on name.
I did too. And then on the television, I just sound like such a freaking fogey right there. On the television, on Saturday morning, Nick Saban picked him too. And I'm like, you know what? If Nick's going with him, yeah, I'm good with this.
And then I call this one the sun shines on a dog's asshole every once in a while. And guess who picked Duke?
Yeah, you did. I even said to you, this is the only one where you can pick chaos, and it's probably there's a chance.
And it was perfect.
And boy,
and that was completely, I was betting on chaos, and sure enough, the Blue Devils pull it out for me. And so you know what? I'm leading 6-4 in our picks.
Well, this, I would say congratulations, but I've been shitty all year. So it's like you just beat a 2-win team in conference.
Hey, it's a W.
It is a W. Congratulations, Brett. Well done.
But we're gonna take this through bowl season because I'm pretty sure I'll come back down because if you've been listening to us, you know my picks and they make no sense.
Season is nearly impossible to pick anymore with, you don't know who's opting out. You don't know, who's what teams now are opting out of a bowl game. You don't know what players are opting out. It's a total crapshoot, man. So that'll be interesting.
I've got a surefire idea up in this noggin.
All right.
I got a surefire plan in place.
Man, when you get that hamster turning that wheel up there too, it's scary, the shit that comes.
Yep. Just wait. Wait.
Duke did everything they could to. It was weird. It would almost look as though they were doing everything they could to lose the game, and then they would make some amazing play. And then Virginia would do the same shit. It was almost like, all right, somebody's gonna fuck around and win this game. Pardon my language.
Yeah, but I don't want it. You take it. No.
Yeah. It's cold. Can't we just go home? That was the shocking thing. When I turn on the telly, and here we are in Charlotte. But you and I have both been to Charlotte. I used to go to Charlotte a lot back when I was in radio, and we've been down there for business and all that. And it's always shocking when you see two football teams playing in the evening and there's steam rolling off their breath. And you're like, holy shit, it's friggin' cold down there.
You don't expect that in Charlotte, but they got some weather.
They got it done, and Duke did exactly what Brett was wishing for, and they threw an added level of chaos into the playoff selection. And
awesome.
Boy, what a mess was that. And shout out to Derek again for meeting up with me for a cold one on Saturday night after the game. But we were talking about, I wasn't mathing correctly in the fact that if Duke won, because I think I said at first Miami would get in, because I said it was just absolutely crazy that the two teams in the ACC championship, neither one of them will go. That didn't make the championship will go. And he said, based off of the way it's set up at that point, he wasn't wrong either, that the ACC essentially wouldn't get anybody in. Because what that did is that elevated the next highest ranked conference champion, which would have been a group of 5 school, right? However, the committee did what the committee does, and they figured out a way to get the names that they wanted in there in one way or another. We can get into that a little bit later. We're going to go into some bowl talk here. If you're ready there, Haas.
I'm ready.
Right. We're going to kick it off with H&H Corner. The Las Vegas Bowl, which I don't know if you know this, Brett. It takes place in Las Vegas, Nevada.
No kidding.
Yeah, I think that's why they call it the bowl, the Las Vegas Bowl. Yeah. So that's taking place on New Year's Eve. At 3:30. I know, right? At 3:30 in the afternoon. Both of these bowl games we're going to talk about take place on New Year's Eve.
How are people just not like, hey, turn the lights off when you leave Nebraska? We're going to Las Vegas for New Year's Eve?
It's a great setup. It really is for a fan,
Yeah.
So, Las Vegas Bowl, and it is the 7-5 Nebraska Cornhuskers taking on the number 15 Utah Utes out of the Big 12 that are 10-2. And it depends on where you look, but 13.5 favorites are the Utah Utes in this game. And it's only going to probably, I don't know if it'll increase much more than that, but I will say there's probably going to be quite a bit of money going towards Utah in this game. And Brett, I don't know, you had a hell of a weekend traveling, so I'll just catch you up on some further chaos, since you love that word so much, that took place with the Husker program. Matt Rule is like the only consistent thing that's still going on with that football team, it seems to be, over the last couple of weeks. You have Dylan Raiola, which the jury's out on right now. Now, everybody and their mother, without it being in writing, essentially has signed his walking papers. On top of that, defensive coordinator John Butler, and you'll recognize this name, offensive line coach Donovan Raiola were both fired.
I wonder if that's why Dylan Raiola is not, or Dayton decided to decommit.
Could be. I don't know. But I mean, this came down just in the last, week, and they're gone. And no word from Dylan. I think it's one of those where the writing's on the wall without words being spoken. Matters are, it's a great thing, but matters also get a little bit tougher for Nebraska going into this game. Emmett Johnson, the best running back, depending on who you ask, in the Big Ten, as far as I'm concerned, he is. And congratulations to Emmett, well deserved. He won the Emeka Dane, I think it's the Emeka Dane, I always pronounce it wrong, Emeka Dane Award, which is the Big Ten Running Back of the Year, and declared for the NFL. So I don't know if he's officially made the statement, but it's already being leaked out that he will not be playing in the bowl game. Again, these are not words that have come from Emmett. They're from sources inside the program. But They don't have Dylan Raiola. They don't have Emmett Johnson. Their O-line coach is gone. Their defensive coordinator's gone. They're like rebuilding on the fly. In Nebraska, if they had a fully staffed defense, we don't know who on their defense is sticking around, like all this stuff, especially when the coordinator goes. But they're number 22 in the nation in total defense, and they're going to need that defense and every ounce of it to slow down Devin Dampier and that Utah offense. I don't know how I didn't notice this until I was looking at it last week. They finished number 6 in total offense in the nation. A lot of people were very critical of Devin Dampier. At least in beginning and midpoint of the season. But he did there. They really picked it up as they got into the second half of the season. You talk about Nebraska's offense that was already struggling, and now they're going to be missing their biggest offensive weapon. TJ Lateef has shown signs of ability here and there, but nothing that you could really write home about. But you're coming up against a Utah defense that ranks nationally number 16 in scoring. So they don't let people score on them.
No, they're a very good team. But do I want to see Nebraska win? Absolutely. And you don't hear that from me too often.
Yeah. Tell me why, Brett. Tell me why.
I just don't like Utah.
Is it because some of their fan base acts like don't take this the wrong way, Iowa? You guys say it about us. We say it about your fans. They act like the Iowa of the Big 12. They're just chirping at us nonstop, but they're chirping at every school. They're the only mutually disliked fan base. This is where they don't compare to Iowa. Well, this is Iowa State bias, but they are the only mutually disliked fan base by all schools in the Big 12.
Yeah, I think that's part of joining the Big 12. You can join, but your fan base has to hate Utah. Okay.
That is, yeah. I thought you were going to say, but your fan base has to be disliked. I'm like, what are you talking about? I love Arizona State fans and BYU.
Oh no, they're amazing. Amazing. It's that common. No one likes Utah.
Yeah, and it's just because their fans are just constantly talking about how they deserve better. All these schools are essentially called Stillwater, Ames, Lawrence, and a few other towns, which they're not completely wrong here. Truck stop towns. They're like, you go from playing in these big cities to playing in these truck stop towns, which we don't even want to go play at. It's like, oh my God.
Weren't they in the Mountain West at one time?
Yeah, but I mean, they still played.
Isn't there JUCOs in that conference? Especially when they were in it.
But yeah, the thing is, they say it's just like the level of arrogance is dumbfounding. But leave them aside. I'm not going to hate on their football team for the arrogance of certain fans, but I am
going to cheer against them.
I mean, we pull for the Huskers on here, and I'm going to stick to it. I hope they can do it. Dude, I don't know where they're going to find it.
It's going to be tough. We spoke about all of the uncertainty before the Iowa game, and they just completely added to it after the Iowa game.
Dude,
getting rid of, your O-line coach, your defense coordinator. Raiola is not going to play. He's out the door.
Well, even if he was healthy, he can't play. Physically he can't. But this is a team that even with Emmett Johnson, Iowa flat out dominated. And this is an Iowa team that offensively, they're no power. Now, Iowa's the number 8 ranked defense in the nation as far as scoring. And then you have a team that's not as good as them defensively, but still good, still in the top 25. And then you add a top ranked offense on top of it. And I think this is just going to be, who I guess might be the only highlight of the trip for them. At least the beer is cold and the money's flowing. It's a 13.5 spread. Brett, I think Utah is going to cover comfortably.
I'm going with my heart, and I'm marking it down. Nebraska.
Right. Now, that one's in the books. Let's move on to earlier in the day. So, as on New Year's Eve, some folks are finishing up their bottomless mimosa brunches or whatever y'all are doing, if you're a fancy pants or if you're like my friends and family, maybe cracking your first cold beer of the day at 11 a.m. on New Year's Eve for the ReliaQuest Bowl, Brett, which takes place in Tampa, Florida. This is the former Outback Bowl, which Iowa is very familiar with. Kirk Ferentz has taken them there 7 times.
Is that Kinnick South?
Basically, at this point, yes. 11 a.m. kickoff. Number 23. Brett, they're in the rankings. So the 8-4. Yeah, they got, after you kick the early shit out of Nebraska in Lincoln, Not shocked they got boosted. There's a lot of people that for some, and especially in the Cyclones, I can't believe that they're in the rank. Well, what does it matter? It doesn't even matter at this point. Just because we can't get our shit together and get ranked doesn't mean you hold it against them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yep. So number 23, 8-4 Hawkeyes are taking on number 14 Vanderbilt, a 10-2 SEC team that was one of the big storylines of the year, missed out on the playoff. I got to give it to Vandy. There wasn't much chirping coming out of the Vandy team or the fan base for not being selected in the playoff either. Really. It was one of those where like, yeah, we're 14. We were close. We didn't get there. But you know what? We got a 10-win season, and we're damn happy with it. Diego Pavia is on his way to New York. He's one of the finalists for the Heisman. Don't know if he'll win it. Comes up against the running back for Notre Dame, Love, and then I think Julian Sayin. I can't remember if there's a fourth or not. But the reason I bring that up is you add the Heisman selection in there, and then the fact that Diego's already said he's probably, I think it's like 95% certain he's declaring for the league. But crazy thing about Diego Pavia is he's one of those rare guys that I could maybe see, even if he's going to the NFL, he could be like, you know what? No, this bowl game's important, man. I could see him playing.
You know, they had the opportunity to pull a Notre Dame and just say, hey, we should have been in. I'm not going to put my players' health in jeopardy. But the coach came out and was like, no, we're going to play. I hope
Their
he
coach
plays.
is awesome,
I can definitely see him playing. That just kind of the vibe I get from Vandy.
Yeah.
Is we'll play anyone, anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, look where they were.
We'll probably beat them.
3 years ago. If you'd talked about them being in a bowl game, they would have just been happy to do that. Diego came from, was it New Mexico or New Mexico State? One of the New Mexicos. That's where the coach came from as well. So there's that influence there as well. Diego is just as arrogant as that guy is, and as much as he runs his mouth and Pavia Mafia and all that stuff with his family, the dude is a worker. And I could see him doing total Cam Ward from last year in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, play the first half, and then sit out. Now, for Iowa, this makes a huge difference. And before we get into that, shout out to the Iowa offensive line, because there's an actual award that the entire offensive line unit can win. It's the Joe Moore Award. And it's awarded to the offensive line unit that displays a high level of toughness, effort, teamwork, consistency, technique, and finishing.
That's Iowa.
That's Iowa, right? I'm actually surprised that, I mean, they may have won it before, but it's one of those where I don't remember in recent years. But kudos, a great job. It's a testament to that offense this year. Again, like talking about the difference in the attitude with their offense this year. Now, on top of that, Logan Jones, their center, is a finalist for the Remington Trophy, which is the best center in college football. I've had the opportunity to attend the Remington Trophy ceremony a couple times. They used to have it in Lincoln. Got to meet some of the guys that won this award over the years. It's just absolutely awesome. So congratulations, Logan. Y'all are going to need that offensive line. Oh, let's get into if Diego plays. So Iowa's defense is going to have their hands full, and that's common sense. But Diego threw for almost 3,200 yards this season, and he had 27 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions, which the way he plays, I was kind of shocked to see it was only 8 when I was looking this up last week. But he's also the leading rusher on the team with 826 yards and 9 touchdowns. The guy averages 5.5 yards a carry or scramble or whatever you want to call it. Now, Pavia had over twice as many passing yards as Gronowski, and he had more rushing yards than Moulton, who's Iowa's top running back. And Iowa, yeah, granted, they've got a good defense, but they're going to need every bit of it. Now, he could have his hands full with them. They're number 8 defense in the nation as far as yards per game. Passing-wise, they're number 12 defense as far as yards allowed. They're the number 9 defense as far as rushing allowed. And then scoring, they're number 8 as well. It's an interesting matchup, and the X factor in this game is truly going to be if Diego plays.
Yeah, like their defense. Iowa is so unsexy of a team.
Well, that's always
like,
Iowa.
I know. It's always blows my mind. Like, just play really, really good defense. Not turn the ball over, punt, and win.
Ever since the days of Amara Stanzi and Brad Banks and Drew Tate and all those guys at quarterback, like it's been you know what we're going to do. Good luck stopping us. I mean, You can stop us, but good luck getting through our defense. Now, if they can make Vanderbilt offensively boring, boy, they've really done something there. You deserve to win just on that.
Like, sit on the ball. What's the saying? Take the air out of the ball and just ground it, and don't let Avia get on the field all that much. Like, that's the only chance they're going to have.
Extend drives offensively. It's a great segue. That's the one factor that if Iowa can do this, they have a chance even if Diego is playing. And that's where they've got to capitalize offensively on any vulnerability they can find whatsoever in Vandy's defense. Because Vandy's defense, you look at what they allow per game. And what's funny is, like, a lot of people would look at this and go, well, that's actually not too bad. Funny thing is Iowa won 8 games this year, and the yards that they gained in a lot of these categories didn't even reach what Vandy's actually allowing per game. Yeah, so Vandy's defense is allowing 357 yards per game, like 250 passing, 112 rushing, and you look at what Iowa was producing per game, so you can hold us to that. We're still going to be scoring.
Yeah. We're still going to win.
Yeah, overall, they're a mid-tier defense in the SEC. That's where Iowa, if they can stay on the field, grind it out, long drives. It's kind of like when Mahomes 5-6 years ago was the Superman Patrick Mahomes at that time. And the Bills kind of seem to have the Chiefs' number in the regular season. And that's their strategy, is you keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, and that's how you beat him. It's the same way here. Well, apparently the odds makers or the money in Vegas doesn't really disagree with us here. And Vandy's only a 4.5-point favorite. But I think that also has to do with some uncertainty about, Pavia if he's playing.
So who you got?
If Pavia is playing, I'm taking Vandy.
Well, you got to take one or the other.
All right. So we got to make this call. I'm going to say he plays, and I'm going to say that this one's going to bite me in the ass. Vandy wins this one. It maybe is a little bit closer than what most people would think. They may not even cover the 4.5. I know exactly what's going to happen. He's either not going to play or he's going to sit out second half. What do you think?
I'm going to go with Vandy as well. I think he's going to play. I think they're going to come into this game prepared.
Oh, yeah.
Their coach wants to make sure they end on a win. Yeah. And then that will carry them into next year, where they'll be in the playoff if they produce the same. Because he's building a winning tradition, and I think he'll prepare his players. I think Ferenc will prepare his players as well. But in the end, the talent in the SEC is going to win out in this case.
Yeah, I get where you're going with that too. Every time Iowa plays an SEC school, that kind of comes up. They're like, well, it's SEC talent versus just this grind it out, win games based off of just ground and pound and play boring football. But I think the talent just is different. It's not one is better than the other. I think it's just different talent. We've seen it go one way or the other. You are 100% right. Diego's even been out campaigning for the whole Vanderbilt's not going away after this year. They're going to be around for a while. He just had an interview where he said, why wouldn't you come to Vanderbilt? We've got all the money. You come to Nashville, of all places, to go to school, and look at what we're doing, right? So anyway, he's not wrong. All right, we've already talked for a while on this game, so we're both going with Vandy. And as we said at the beginning of the episode, we're not going to hop into the bad news or any of the negativity around recent events. I don't know, Brett, something happened with Iowa State last week, right? It's got people upset. I can't remember. Weren't we talking didn't we?
Was it the bowl they got selected to?
Yeah, maybe. I can't remember.
Which I'm not seeing that on our agenda. What bowl are they playing in?
Well, I'll call some people and see if I can find out. If anybody cannot sense sarcasm on this, then you're not listening. The next portion of this we'll get into, and we're not going to spend a ton of time here because we do want to get into what took place last week. But the rest of the Big 12 teams, starting on the 27th of December, a bowl that is very near and dear to our hearts after last year, the Pop-Tarts Bowl, where number 12, BYU, as we know, the best team essentially in the Big 12 that doesn't get selected for the playoff goes to the Pop-Tarts Bowl or gets an invite to the Pop-Tarts Bowl, which happens to be BYU, fortunately for BYU. But you know what, BYU fans, as talking from experience with a team that got to go last year, I didn't actually go to the Pop-Tarts Bowl, I had friends that went. The experience overall sounds like it was awesome. They're just amazing in how they run the show down there. You got the Pop-Tarts running around celebrating with the team. They're joining the team in the huddle. They're giving the refs crap the entire game. One of them dies. and then another one like comes back to life. It's just crazy. A lot of drama. But number 12, BYU, 11-2, is taking on another team that was kind of a storyline this year for a while. Number 22, Georgia Tech at 9-3, a team that everybody talked about for a bit. Kind of do this over the years, and then they lose a couple games, and now here they are at number 22. I see this differently than Vegas. BYU is a 4.5-point favorite. Georgia Tech, they're a hard team to judge. 9 wins and having an ACC schedule versus 11 wins and having a Big 12 schedule. This isn't favoritism or bias because of our conference.
See, I've got Georgia Tech winning.
Yeah. Well,
like,
it's not.
Their coach is just, he's kind of a hard nose.
I do like their coach.
Grinder. And I know BYU, they just extended their coach, but I think they'll use this as a vacation. I've got Georgia Tech winning.
2 great coaches. Satake is just awesome. And Georgia Tech's coach, what I love about him is literally in post-game interviews while he isn't off the field yet, and he will bitch about how shitty his team played after they won a game to the reporter.
You think he's going to let them take, time off before this game? No, they're going to be prepared.
No. They're always a fun offense to watch. I will say that because they've kind of gone away from it, but they run somewhat of a, some people call it style of the veer. In those offenses, it's a freaking anomaly. So I could see that going on. This is a pick totally based on hope. I'm going to say BYU. Damn it. God, they played good all year. There's just one team, and they hung in with Texas Tech for a half, and then it was just their own mistakes. Texas Tech's amazing defense as well. Anywho, Bear Bachmeyer, Satake, LJ Martin, you guys go down there and take care of business, all right? Bring home that Pop-Tarts Bowl trophy back to the Big 12 again. Moving on to, Brett, one of your favorite teams, also on the 27th, taking place at 8:15 that evening, the number 21 Houston Cougars at 8-3 are taking on a team that they've been in the news a lot. 7-5, Lane Kiffin coached. I don't know if he'll be really set in his ways from a coaching standpoint at that point. LSU team down in Houston. And this is the Kinders Texas Bowl, where Houston is actually favored by 3.
I know it's a home game for Houston, but I can't take them. I'm taking LSU. It disappointed me way too much.
I am going to go the opposite way because LSU, the only reason I'm saying this is, yes, Houston tripped up a couple times this year, but they have the talent. I've paid a little bit more attention to some of the SEC teams than I think a lot of Big 12 fans will. I've had the opportunity to watch LSU quite a few times, and they are a fucking mess, man. Prime example, the A&M game. When they played their defense was running around the field like just spinning in circles. Like, they didn't even know what the hell they were doing out. Now, granted, that's also, too, why there's a new coach in town. So I'm going to disagree with you. So are you writing these down?
I'm writing them down.
Perfect. All right.
We'll publish them. I'll make it look pretty.
Nice. Now, moving on to New Year's Eve down in San Antonio, Texas, the Valero Alamo Bowl, where, unfortunately for TCU, you don't get to travel very far, but 8-4 Horned Frogs, who we got to see in person not too long ago, are taking on an interesting team here. The number 16 USC Trojans at 9-3. And USC is a 6-point favorite in this game. USC is an interesting team that this year, they've seemed to be like in the rankings pretty much the entire year. I don't know if they were even out of them. I can't even remember they were preseason. They've been touted as being very potent offensively, but yet they seem to be that team that anybody on any given day can shut down. When I say anybody, I'm not talking about just good teams. Anybody can shut them down, but they can also show up against the toughest teams, which is why they've got 9 wins.
They are the weirdest team. Like, if you said, Brett, what's USC's record? I would not have guessed 9-3. I would have been like, they're 7-5.
Oh yeah,
maybe?
anybody. If somebody doesn't even look at the rankings, doesn't look at yards, statistics, whatever, and they just listen to somebody talk about how USC played this year, they were like, okay, this is a 500 team, right?
Which, by the way, you totally called me out. You're like, if someone doesn't look at anything and then just makes picks, you'd say they're a 500 team.
Well, that's why we go so well together on this damn shit show. But USC, I mean, shit, I think we both picked Iowa to beat them, and they pulled that out, Yeah, but then they almost lose to Nebraska. What in the wide world of sports is going on here? So the crazy thing is on the other sideline, we've got a team that also is struggling with identity because you've seen even recently what TCU can do. They can get the shit beat out of them by a team that they shouldn't. They can get beat by a team that has no defensive secondary, as we saw in person. And they can have one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, or they can have one of the worst ones on a week in, week out basis. So who knows? USC could win this.
TCU is just sporadic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I've got to take USC on this one.
All right. I am going to say TCU wins this and they don't cover because it's in the Alamo Bowl. And man, I will tell you, if any team has had some great Alamo Bowls, it's TCU. Now, we got 3 bowls left, 4 technically, one of which they don't know the opponent, so we can't really talk about it much. But we're going to move on to another New Year's Eve game at 1 p.m. on CBS, the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Boy, these bowls just keep getting better with the names, dude. Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. This is a classic bowl game. It really is. Shit, I remember being in high school and watching the Hawkeyes play down there against, I think it was Arizona State. Like, there's so many memories of this bowl, but yet it's still just considered a middle-tier bowl. Now, speaking of Arizona State, the 8-4 Arizona State Sun Devils are going in there to play your beloved Duke Blue Devils. So the Devils versus the Devils in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl in El Paso. A couple different things in the news on Arizona State this week. Leavitt entered the transfer portal. So
I read that he decided not to show up for the team function as their captain, and they were guessing he was going to.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So he gone. I don't know offensively who Arizona State is going to have. Now, Dillingham came out and said, if they enter the transfer portal, that's the world we're in. So be it. We're still going to let him play in the bowl game. And that's good on him, not being a dick about it. Big fan of his. So anybody who enters the transfer portal can still play. He might have been saying that with hopes that Leavitt would maybe consider playing. I don't know. It doesn't sound like he is. I'm guessing he's not because Duke is a 1.5 point favorite. And based on what we saw in Charlotte, it could happen.
Are you taking Duke?
No.
You're not taking the Chaos Kings?
Actually, is Sims playing? I think, didn't he get hurt? I can't remember.
Asking the guy that doesn't pay attention to most stuff before his picks. Screw
it. I don't know if he's playing or not. I can't remember. I was about to say there's just too much offensive firepower on Arizona. But if you don't have anybody to throw the damn ball to him,
you're taking the Chaos Kings.
So I'm gonna go with Arizona State because
okay.
Who knows? Who knows? Anything can happen in El Paso, Texas.
Trust me, I know.
Oh, I know you do. That's why I said that. So you're gonna go with Duke?
Yeah, the Chaos Kings.
All right.
I am doubling down on them.
Sounds good. All right. What a hell of a couple weeks for Duke, though. Win the ACC championship and then go down and beat the previous year's Big 12 champions in a bowl game. And all 1,500 of their fans that follow their football team, they're going to go out and get their T-shirts, and they're going to love it. And then they're going to forget about them and go back to basketball.
Yep.
Along with the other 30,000 of those. All right. Now, moving on the 2nd. So the day after New Year's Day, 3:30 p.m. on ESPN, Navy taking on Cincy. I don't have high hopes for Cincy. This is a 9-2 Navy team. Now, granted, this is a Navy team that got their asses kicked by North Texas, but this is a Cincy team that I feel like lost all. Like, there's rumors that there's guys looking at the transfer portal. Sorsby is shopping around. I've heard from inside sources, kind of looking at who's the highest bidder out there, and he's getting some pretty goddamn good offers. We're talking like a couple mil.
Good for him.
Yeah, I don't know if they're in conference, doesn't matter, but there's a lot of schools would be happy to have that guy. Who knows? After the transfer portal opens up in January, we might be happy to take him in Ames. You never know. But so Navy's a 2.5 point favorite. I think since he's really down right now, regardless of the talent they have, after going winless in November, based off where they started, I think it's a quicksand thing, man. I think they're just going to continue spiraling.
Yeah, I agree. I think Navy will just kind of have their way. And Navy, it's not like other programs where coaches are like, hey, this is a bowl game, so go have fun. Let's celebrate.
Well, you can't opt out. If you're a service academy, you can't opt out of a game either.
Yeah. So you're taking Navy as well?
Yep. Cincy's defense is suspect a little bit too, and Navy's offense I think is going to run right through them, but could be wrong. The last bowl game that's not a playoff game, the Trust and Will Holiday Bowl, Brett, that takes place in lovely San Diego, California. Yes, I did say Trust and Will.
I'm just wondering,
Yes.
what would it take for us to sponsor a bowl game?
Our podcast?
Yeah.
We'd have to have income from it first.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember, it's like that corporate card thing you were talking about for the travel. It just comes out of your own bank account.
Oh, I thought you told me that was in the mail.
Yeah. It has been for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we can throw a cheap pop out there if anybody's listening that's interested in advertising or sponsoring a podcast. We're all ears. So the Holiday Bowl. So 7 p.m. Number 17, Arizona, which they seem like a team that should always be in the Holiday Bowl. I don't know why, but they're playing the SMU Mustangs, who finished at 8-4. Arizona's favored by 3. I'm going with Arizona on this one, just because the way Arizona finished the season.
I am too. They finished really strong. I just don't know about SMU, if they'll be there to actually play or not.
They were pretty damn mouthy. Their coach, their player, they had a pretty rough attitude towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
I will say that. The last bowl game that we don't really need to get into because we don't really know shit about it just yet. Texas Tech, who is the number 4 team. And I thought since they were in Texas that they would be put in the Cotton Bowl, because don't they try to keep the top 4 seeds like somewhat near?
You think like just.
So Ohio State's playing in the Cotton Bowl down here. Texas Tech is playing in the Orange Bowl down in Miami to whoever is lucky enough to get to play that freaking defense and offense.
I don't know why they don't do that. Is it they afraid that it's going to be home field advantage? And like,
don't know.
Well, no, because how many times has an SEC school played in Atlanta?
Dude, yeah.
Like, I mean, Georgia and Alabama, is it just the Big 10, Big 12, and all other conferences have to be shuffled around?
I was under the impression that I think the top seeded team in the playoff, I think that they get, correct me if I'm wrong, I've heard they can kind of pick which location, and then they kind of go, and then they go from there. But regardless, it shouldn't matter where you play, right? If you're gonna be the best, you got to beat the best, and you got to beat them wherever the hell you got to play them. Good luck, Texas Tech. You guys put on a hell of a show on frickin' Saturday. That is for damn sure. I've never seen so many Texas Tech fans in one place, and that includes even when we went to Lubbock, Brett. Good Lord, they came out. That game, man, to see Jerry World sold out and to see it 80 to maybe 85% Texas Tech fans.
It was sold out?
It was sold out. Yeah.
Really? I did not anticipate that.
And there were like tiny, and I'm talking tiny little slivers of blue here and there.
Really?
But the rest was all black and red, man. Like awesome. They brought it.
I love Texas Tech fans.
Dude. And you know what? Joey McGuire, that guy's post-game press conference, talk about a frickin' just a guy. Like, it reminded me of like a small town high school state powerhouse football coach. The way he speaks, he doesn't sound like some corporate coach. He doesn't sound like some guy that rehearsed what he was going to say. It is just straight from the frickin' chest, man.
Perfect from Lubbock.
Oh, absolutely. It'd be freaking awesome to see him in the title game. But we've gone a little long, but let's talk about it, Brett. Something happened last week, and we don't even need to go through it all because everybody's gone through an emotional freaking roller coaster meltdown. Well, God knows whatever you want to call it. Rumors about Jamie Pollard that turned out weren't true. Some stories that just got absolutely fabricated. There were stories coming out about Campbell that were absolutely fabricated as well. And in the end, when all the dust settles, you find out that maybe there was some disagreements on management of NIL funds, but nobody's doing anything wrong. It's doing it in maybe an old school way or a more reserved way of how our funds are managed or distributed, but nobody's doing anything wrong. People were trying to say that Jamie Pollard deserved to be fired. Now the sentiment has kind of changed. Shit, even Cyclone Larry's out there on social media backing Jamie Pollard, telling everybody they owe him an apology. And I think it's a two-way street. Campbell, in summary, Campbell deserved to take the next step in his career. And we're damn lucky that he hadn't done it prior to now.
I am so happy for Matt Campbell to have that opportunity to go to Penn State. And I love Iowa State, but it's not Penn State. I know he's going to have to be careful we'll stop. Time out.
We'll leave that part out.
Yeah.
Don't fall into.
I'm not going to bring up Penn State's wonderful history.
Don't let anybody fall into the old ways. We'll just say it that way.
Yeah. You better be careful who his assistants are.
And if you see something, say something.
Yes.
As they say nowadays.
Contact your HR rep.
Campbell's the perfect guy, though.
Yeah.
And you bring that up. With what they went through, there's been a stain kind of on Penn State since then. Who better to bring in? Just a guy with high integrity, a guy that you love it, but people kind of tease about it. How emotional the guy is. He teared up in his press conference in Happy Valley when he started talking about Iowa State and the greatness of games and the university and the teams and the players. Said amazing things. And anybody who has ill will towards Matt Campbell, that's a you issue.
Oh, 100%.
He came to Iowa State when, granted, we had Rhodes did what he could do, but after Chiswick and a lot of rough years, I heard people literally in Ames saying, maybe you just can't win here. It's just not possible. And he came in and did things in a 10-year span that we never even dreamed of.
Built how many NFL players? What do you think he's going to do with Penn State's recruiting ability? Like he's going to turn 5 stars into 6 stars all of a sudden?
And $17 million more a year in NIL budget than what we were able to get him.
It's so amazing for him.
Matt's family, a lot of them are in that area. My dumbass, some reason, forgot what a map looks like. And I'm sitting here going, his short list was Notre Dame, Michigan, and Ohio State because he's from Ohio. So why would he go to Pennsylvania? I shit you not. That lasted 30 minutes. I'm like, oh, Pennsylvania is right next to Ohio.
Don't worry. Everyone forgets about Pennsylvania.
But he's already making strong relationships up there. People are seeing just the gold freaking heart that is Matt Campbell. And they got a good one. And I hope he wins a natty up there.
I do too. I hope he wins too.
So our cupboard is bare. From a coaching standpoint, well, we don't know at this point. Everything's just kind of hearsay now. Like there's been a few that are like certain that we've heard. Mauser is obviously one that's not here. It sucks to see them go, but in some side conversations I've had with people, I'm not going to say specific names of players or coaches, but it might be the right time for them to move on. You know, without Campbell here, some of them may just kind of feel out of place, right? There's some players that if they stay and they don't go, I'm not sitting here encouraging our players to transfer. We got amazing players that I don't want to see go because truly it would be better for them and the program. But some of them may feel kind of like they're out of place because the style of offense and the style of defense we're going to be playing are going to be completely different. If anybody has looked up Jimmy Rogers and what the offense is at South Dakota State, and even last year when he walked into Pullman in Washington with a bare cupboard out there and still got him to 6-6. Now, mind you, they had a quarterback that ended up leaving and going to Oklahoma and doing kind of okay.
He did decent,
right? And they had to backfill that. He brought his guys from South Dakota State out there. FCS doesn't always jump to the next level and immediately see success. But watching some of the game film versus teams like Ole Miss and Virginia, man, I'll tell you, if the style of offense that they have had on his teams is the same one that they put in place in Ames next year, you better get ready to see some risky and aggressive and much faster paced offense.
Wait. I really like the offense where you need 5 yards for a first down and you throw it 3.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite offense.
Well, and granted, Campbell had his ways. And also they run one end around a game that always loses yards, but you got to try it. I did respond to a Penn State fan on X saying, you got a hell of a coach. Just be prepared. This is going to happen once a game, but give him a break. But
He's just keeping people honest. Dude,
if you want to have some fun, watch some of their games from last year because their quarterback will take off scrambling. And granted, like this is no 5-star quarterback. This is a kid who played at, oh God, I can't even remember the name of the school. He was at an FCS school before he went to Washington State. Anyways, he goes and scrambles around and he's doing shit like freaking Mahomes style where he's just literally like underhand throwing the ball or he just randomly pops it up in the air. Like he's making plays and it'll be a different style of quarterback to see. Just a different style of aggression, just creative playmaking. Now, defensively, that's going to be a huge adjustment for everybody because if Jimmy brings in his guys defensively, where they try to stick to the same type of defense, it's going to be a 4-man front versus a 3-3-5, which is going to be different to see.
It is. Do you also feel, though, like the 3-3-5 was getting figured out?
I mean, in the Big 12, it was. Because when Haycock brought it in along with a couple other guys, it was the new shiny thing in the Big 12, and nobody knew how to get through it, you know? But it's just the same thing with every great offense and defense. When it's brand new, nobody knows what the fuck to do, and you see great success with it. Problem is like after a bit, people figure it out. I don't know if this different type of defense is going to be any better, but there's all sorts of things, man. The strategies themselves are probably the least of our worries, because obviously we got a coaching staff that we need to get filled out. We've got all sorts of concerns. The transfer portal opens up in January. Matt's the type of guy that I guarantee he didn't make a list of 30 guys and try to take them with him, right? But Matt's the type of guy too. If any of those guys reaches out to him and says, hey, can I come play for you? He's not going to tell him no. And as some have said, yeah, a lot of these guys in this team are loyal, but are you loyal to the university or are you loyal to the coach? And in Matt Campbell's case, that's a tough freaking question to answer.
I'm guessing 9 times out of 10, you're loyal to Matt Campbell.
Yeah,
that's why we love him, and that's why he was able to have success at Iowa State. Was he built that loyalty? He built men, and they won.
Some of these guys could have already been at these universities that have $30 million in NIL, and they chose to come play for less so they could play for Matt Campbell. Now, the other worry with that, and we had some pretty damn solid commits recently. I've already seen a few of them state that they are decommitting, which they have the right to do that. You know, when you agree to play for a Matt Campbell or a Haycock or even Mauser, and then that's not happening anymore, I don't fault any of these guys for saying, you know what, let's scrap that and I'm going to explore my options. Right.
Well, I was having that conversation the other day about how the transfer portal's ruining everything and players shouldn't be able to transfer like they do. But I just reminded them, like, how about all those times when they had to sit out a year to transfer schools, but the coach that recruited them and talked them into going there leaves right off after signing day. And then that kid's stuck sitting out a year. That's not fair.
Shit, man. And we lose sight of this every once in a while, and the fact that because we've been so spoiled in the coaches we've got, even before Campbell. Rhodes was a man who had a high level of integrity. Coach Mack, shining example of a good man at coach. We've been spoiled. We've had an experience for 2 years with a coach, in my opinion, was kind of a bag of shit. Used Iowa State as a stepping stone and just to get to his next job, and then took a lot of the recruits with him. But the reason I say that is there's universities out there that have these coaches that they will promise you the frickin' moon. And you get there, once you're there, your ass is theirs. And back in the day, when you really didn't have a choice, you're stuck there and you're some talented receiver and you get recruited to a team where they're talking about, oh, we're going to implement this amazing passing style offense. And then they don't even do it. And you don't do shit your entire career. And you had all of this promise and you're just SOL. So the transfer portal, I agree with you on that one, man. It can be a good thing. But for some of these recruits, great thing is God, I hate saying this, but you know what? If you're looking for playing time right off the bat, there's a chance.
There might be a lot of open spots.
This might be your opportunity. I don't know how many guys are coming from Washington. We don't know that. But I will say this. I have a positive outlook on this. And I want to say thank you to one of my friends back in Omaha on this, because I texted him Sunday and I said these exact words. As I'm in the gym, it hit me. And I texted him saying, if we have a mass exodus in the transfer portal and half the recruits bail on their commitment, is this the closest thing to the death penalty that you can get without being issued the death penalty? And the reason I say that is look how long it took Matt to get us where we are now, right? And we went through some really, really dark years. And it is not easy to get players to come to a lower NIL amount in Ames, Iowa. Nonetheless, times have changed. Kids want to go where there's beaches and sunshine and warm weather and blah, 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 and not a cattle town, right? But there's great things about Ames, obviously. I love the city. I wouldn't be such a loyal Iowa State Cyclone fan if I didn't have a place in my heart for that. But every one of us with common sense knows those challenges are out there. And if the cupboard gets completely emptied, then that's where I was going with it. He responded saying, I actually have a very positive outlook. If he brings the guys from Washington, because I mean, this guy was a great enough coach that a shitload of them followed him from South Dakota to Washington, and it could likely be the same. And that says a lot about you. This could be the beginning of another Matt Campbell type situation. We could be on the verge of possibly even a better situation.
And they were talking with this recruiting class. One of their key things was the 6-hour ring. Recruiting and getting the talent within 6 hours of Ames. He came from South Dakota, State. He can succeed in that 6-hour ring. And one thing I'm very happy for is it was a clear succession. There wasn't 2 weeks of who's it going to be, all this. Like, there was obviously a exit plan in place, and we knew Matt Campbell was going to leave. And here's probably the top people. Call him up. You want the job? Yes, no. All right, we'll announce it.
I'm so happy you said that, because when it became official, there is not an Iowa State alumni, fan, former player, whatever, that didn't, in the back of their minds, somewhat have a meltdown thinking, dude, all these other coaches have all been hired. Every single solid candidate that's out there has already been picked up. We just got screwed again, and we got some dark days ahead. And I heard a lot of people complaining about, well, this is bullshit. I can't believe Jamie just hired a guy in 5 minutes. But if exactly what you said, if they spent 2 weeks sitting there going, who's going to be the next guy, it's only going to get worse. And the rumors are going to get crazy. Jamie had been talking to this guy for a year. He was well aware that we were on borrowed time with Matt.
Everyone was.
Kudos to Jimmy Rogers. He and Pollard talked a long time ago, and Pollard said, here's the things you would need to do to coach at this level. And he did every damn one of them. This guy committed to a job that wasn't even open. And and I guess Jamie called him and said, if Matt leaves, if he turns in his resignation tonight, he didn't even get to finish the statement. And Jimmy goes, yes, I don't care. Don't even have to get to the dollar amount. Yes, I will be there. I heard that, and I'm like, that's our guy. So any other final thoughts, Brett, for the evening?
No, I'm pretty exhausted. It definitely was an emotional weekend, but we got through it.
Well, I appreciate you sticking on here a little bit longer than what we planned. I as well. I'm freaking kind of worn out. But Iowa State fans, I believe, we have high hopes. There is sunshine on the horizon. And go out and knock them dead this week, basketball teams. So yes. Good luck. All right, we're going to wrap it up. As we always say, and as we get into the holiday season, continue enjoying those bush lights. I will be enjoying some up in Iowa for Christmas, and have a couple on us. Brett, before we go, for listeners out there that do look us up on Spotify and all the other platforms, or YouTube, whatever, and our socials, what should they do?
All the little elks should smash that like button.
All right. Indeed, little elks. If you find yourself being called a little elk, question some decisions in your life. But then when you're done doing that, smash the like button. But again, thank you for listening, and thank you for those of you that continue to listen. We're going to take a little bit of a break, so it might be another week or so before we have another episode. But again, thank you, and we look forward to talking to you again. Have a good week, folks.
See ya.